Hey guys, I thought I'd teach you how to make a piston sleeve pincher for the TRX 3.3. If your piston and sleeve is starting to wear out and you need to repinch it here, this is what I did. So anyway, what you're going to need is to go to your local Ace Hardware, pick up a piece of this 3/4 copper tubing. It usually comes in like a 12-foot section, but you can buy it by the foot. I paid $3.49 for it. It's 3/4 inner diameter. Okay, so this is a 3/4 inner diameter. Okay, and then the outer diameter is 7/8. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll need a tool. You can use the one at Ace Hardware. When they cut down to a foot for me, I asked them if I could borrow their tool, and I was just cut myself a whole bunch of these little pieces. I was trying to get a 5.50 millimeter wide, 5.50 millimeter wide. So I went right to here like this, and I measured. Whoop, I'm in inches here. So I'll go back here now to millimeter, zero that out, and I made it 5.5 millimeters wide. Okay, and I'll show you here. That's my piece. I got, like I said, I went in Ace Hardware in their bolt section. They have these clamps. Okay, if you look on one side, it's nice and flat. It actually says 7/8, and on the other side, it's got a slight indentation or a groove in the deal here, and it's got 2 bolts on it, so you can clamp it down. And if you look, it fits on these 7/8 perfectly, absolutely perfect. There's no grooves, so you're not gonna out around this piece of material squeezing it, because it fits it absolutely perfect. But when you cut out your pieces to the size you need, and then you take a die grinder and you cut it. Okay, just cut it. Now I did not, when you cut it, literally it opens. So if you look here, it literally opened when I die grinded it. So I didn't cut it any wider, I just cut it, and that's what I did. And then I just evened it out. I used a couple different files that I have here to clean up the edges really nice. I used the round file right here. Let's see, use the round file and just clean this edge right here a little bit. Anyway, I cut these to the sizes, and then when I finally got one to the right size I wanted, I took a file here on the inside and I just filed just the edge, because from the cutting you get a little bit of an edge on the side. So I take a file and just go around, get just the edge until it's nice and smooth. Go around to the other side, do the same thing, and you'll see I did not touch any of the inside area here. I only touched the outside edges, leaving this all nice and smooth. There's no welds or anything in here, so it's a perfectly good sleeve to use for crushing. Now, as you'll see, like I said, when I cut it, it opened, or I may have even pulled it a little bit. But anyway, let me show you with my sleeve again. As you can see, it literally just slid over. Okay, and if I squeeze it again, I literally just have a tiny bit of room, and now it's tight. Okay, and now I'm able to put this in here. Now, if you go ahead and give it a finger tight like that, and then push down, it will stop. You want to leave the sleeve, the button head, just the top of the button head. You want to leave that up on the top like that, and then you want to go ahead and start tightening your bolts down. When you tighten them down, you want to do a little bit at a time. Try to come up with a formula. You know, if you do 2 turns, once it's all the way down, do it a quarter turn on each side, then loosen it again. There's a little notch you can see on the top of the button. Rotate that notch a quarter turn, tighten it back down again. Do maybe, you know, tighten them both down so they're even on both sides, and then turn it a quarter turn and a quarter turn, then loosen it again and rotate it again a quarter turn, and do that all the way around. Okay, and that's where, and then once you've done that, you're going to want to put your piston back in, and you want your piston to go up about halfway, okay? And it should stop at the halfway point. If it goes any further than halfway, you have too much, it's not tight enough yet. Okay, so you want to be able to push it up until it gets about halfway between, and you want to look at this notch right here, okay? So at the piston, this is a brand new one in the package, never used. I opened it. This is what I used for my reference to figure out what I wanted. As you can see, it's halfway. So if I push it, we're going to look at the notch on the piston, okay? So this is the bottom notch here. That bottom notch, you're going to face towards the pin on the button here on the top of the piston. So that leaves you with this hole here. Center the hole with the center of the pin there, okay? And give it a push with your finger and see it goes halfway. And that's what I'm using for a reference for this, is I want this to go halfway. And once I get my crush to where that's halfway, just by giving it a nice tight push, you know, it won't go any further. Okay, and then I can slide it back out. That's what I'm looking for with my pinch. I want it to go halfway. Okay, so once I get my pinch halfway, I'm done. Now, if you end up over tightening this, you can take a heat gun, heat it up a little bit, and then when it's hot, it expands. You can literally take the piston and push it back out. If once you take it out, it's too tight, there's another thing you can do. When it's too tight, like right now, I was experimenting a little bit, and I made it too tight. So I heated this up, and when I heated it up, I was able to push the piston down into it, and the piston's in it right now. And as it's cooling off, if you take a tool, like I was using this tool for instance, while it's still hot and you push it down, it will start to go down, okay? And then you can turn it back over and push it back down. As it's cooling off, if you keep doing that, as it's cooling off, it will force the metal out, because as this shrinks and you're pushing it in, it's going to expand it again because it's still warm enough to stretch it out. Good, in theory, put this all together, heat up the cylinder head with a torch, and then once it starts to heat up, you should be able to turn the motor over. While it's running, it will get it to seat where it needs to seat. So, but I'm looking to do it an easier way. So anyway, like I said, even the sleeve, I wanted to show you, this was kind of cool. If this sleeve wasn't going to crush evenly, you would notice it when I do this, and I want to show you. Just with my fingers, if you look at my little groove here that I have cut out. So watch with my fingers, just as I squeeze, you'll see the two ends go together. So isn't that cool? See it go together, because it's squeezing completely evenly, giving it a nice even crush or pinch, and that's what I want. Again, my measurements here is the width here is 5.5 millimeter. The thickness of this is 1.08 when you measure here. And it's 7/8 outer diameter by 3/4 inner diameter for the copper tubing that I got at Ace Hardware. It says right on it 3/4 L USA, and I got this in the plumbing section at Ace Hardware. I got these in the bolt selection in the bends on the top of the bolts. It's a 7/8. And again, all I did was cut this sleeve. I used a die grinder and I used some files. So, all right. This should also work on an OS21. I believe the 3.3 and the OS21s are about the same size. So you should be able to get this to work on an OS21 as well. I don't know if we'll be able to get it to work on any of the smaller ones. I do have an OS18 eventually I may be messing with. This is, as you can see, when it's pushed just by tight, the button on the top does bottom out right there. So you want to make sure you leave that button up slightly when you do it. Yeah, and if I had a mill, I think I would take this and keep them nice and tight together, and I would make another groove just a little bit for the button to sink into slightly. But unfortunately I don't, so this is going to be the way it is. Alright, cool. Peace out. Thanks for watching. Alright, just an update. I did some modifications to the clamp. I wanted the brass fitting to sit in the middle where the screws were, but when I did that, the button of the piston hit. It won't fit inside of here, and so I wanted to modify it. So as you can see now, when I drop it in, see, I tightened it a little bit before I did this video. I'll show you guys. So now I'll be able to slide it in, clamp it with it all the way in there, and that puts it in the center. I did that with a porting bit. As you can see, if you look closely here, there is some spacing between here. So what I did was, if you look all the way around, there's spacing. You just got to make sure that your insert is sitting in the right spot when you tighten it down, so that you don't end up below that spacing. But what I did was, to do that, show you guys. Actually, I can just do it with this. All you have to do is put your copper tubing in, set it where you want it, and then tighten these clamps down, and then port it in that area. And the copper tubing will actually protect the rest of the clamp so that you don't hit the rest of the clamp. So if you look, you'll see I have a really nice square edge in there all the way around. And that's what kept that edge nice and clean, was the copper tubing. I also discovered that once I got in there, you'll see that you can see the inside edge of the copper tubing where my porting bit hit. That's what protected it. I noticed that once I took that burr off there, this actually slides all the way in. It's a perfect fit. So this is literally a perfect fit. It's snug. It doesn't have any play in it at all. And by putting a notch in the tubing, that allows it to have some squish so that you can squeeze the fitting. So that's an extra one I have. So anyway, so again, that's what I did for the tool here. And so anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that.